growing up as a young boy and then into adolescence, we don't realize how much information we have yet to learn until obviously we are older as men. I mean, that's a given. You already know this. But in the last couple of years, I've been really delving into what it is to be a man, what it is to stand your ground, and to absorb all of the information that your elders were trying to teach you when we were so young, dumb, and ignorant on these facts. I want to thank everybody for your well wishes and your comments in my last video, but I want to move on with life and with my observations with you guys as well. I don't want every video to be a very downer, but I had the burning feeling and sensation inside to really share with you with what was happening in my life and in my personal life in the past year since my last upload. But we're going to move forward, and I'm going to talk about things that really, like I said before, interest me and have really been, ticking and burning and picking at me in the back of my mind for many years. So I want to thank all of you, and hopefully you will join me in my adventures to come. So in this video, I want to talk about my observations after reading all 3 entries of The Rational Male by Rollo Tomassi. We don't realize how many thoughts and how many ideas are actually shaped for us by other people. There is a very famous quote by Edward Bernays. Edward Bernays was an Austrian-American pioneer in public relations, but before it was called public relations, it was called propaganda. It wasn't until the 20s and 30s where he realized that he had to change that name, even though he published a book called Propaganda. It went from that to public relations because at the time, after the First World War and into the Second, the Nazis were using propaganda. And so to distance ourselves from that term, we just coined it, or he coined it, public relations, PR. That's what we know it as today. Here's a famous quote by Edward Bernays. And don't forget that he was also the nephew of Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud is the father and inventor and founder of modern day psychology. So now you're starting to see the connections there, the family lineage. This is from the book Propaganda by Edward Bernays. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of. Now, when you stop to think about that, that is a very real situation that we are in right now. If you think about the true power of that statement, you have to realize who this dude was. In 1929, he was responsible for this campaign called Torches of Freedom, in which he got together, and this is off the record, by the way, the funding came from the Rockefeller Foundation and the Rockefeller family, and what this campaign was set to do was to show the power of the first wave feminism in the United States by encouraging women to go out and smoke in public, which at that time was considered really taboo. It was like not an open thing to do. And then he hooked up with the United Fruit Company in connection with the CIA, and they overthrew the democratically elected Guatemalan government in 1954, all to save a dime on a banana. If you think about it, if you zoom out and you start looking at it from a big picture point of view, we overthrew a government just so the United States can save money on bananas. So now that you understand the power of public relations, also known as propaganda, I want you to follow me back to The Rational Male by Rollo Tomassi. Now, the first one is a very good read, and then he also released a second and third entry into that series, and I highly suggest you guys pick it up. But in that book, he talks about the propaganda of Hollywood, how love is marketed not to women but to men, and to submit into the feminine state. And this is the problem that men in the United States are subject to. We're subject to hardcore propaganda into believing this feminine matrix, into living in the female frame. And that's something that I have come to terms with, and now I understand how and why it is so important for a man to be in his own frame, for a man to be in his own footsteps, and to be a leader in his own right. And that, at the end of the day, is what women are really attracted to. But, when you look at the public school system, almost 80% of all teachers are female. Most of those women are left-leaning. And so you drop your kids off to school, especially as a single mother with 2 boys or a single boy in the household, and there's no strong father parental unit in this family structure, in the traditional nuclear family, then there is a problem. And so you fast forward after this first wave feminism and into the second wave feminism that was even more heavily so funded by the Rockefeller Foundation.
Well, one of the things they told me was that he was at the house one night, and he would talk, and he started laughing. He said, "Aaron, what do you think women's liberation was about?" And I said, I had pretty conventional thinking about it at that point. I said, I think it's about women having the right to work, getting equal pay with men, just like they won the right to vote, you know? And he started to laugh. He said, "You're an idiot." And I said, "Why am I an idiot?" He said, let me tell you what that was about. We, the Rockefellers, funded that. We funded women's lib, you know? And we're the ones who got all over the newspapers and television, the Rockefeller Foundation. He says, "And you want to know why?" He said, "There were 2 primary reasons." And they were, one reason was we couldn't tax half the population before women's lib. And the second reason was, now we get the kids in school at an early age. We can indoctrinate the kids how to think. It breaks up their family. The kids start looking at the state as the family, as the school, as the officials, as their family, not as the parents teaching them. And so those are the 2 primary reasons for women's lib, which I thought up to that point was a noble thing. You know, when I saw their intentions behind it, where they were coming from when they created it, the thought of it, I saw the evil behind what I thought was a noble venture.
Aaron, did you know that Gloria Steinem, in one of her own books, now admits the CIA funded Miss Magazine?
No, I had no idea about that. No, I never heard that.
Yeah, we're going to...
CIA funded Miss Magazine?
Funded Miss Magazine with the stated goal of taxing women and breaking up the family.
No kidding. I never heard that. Well, Nick told me. I mean, I know it, but not because I know the CIA was involved in it.
Now you understand why we're in this position today. Today we have terms like simps and soy boys. And so you understand that this is not just an overnight thing. This is generational. Every 25 years is considered a generation. And so when you zoom out and you see how long these systems, these Marxist ideologies have been in place, right? You have to understand the elite don't care about left, right, conservatism, leftism, Marxism, communism, socialism. They don't care about that. They just live in this ivory tower, and most of their wealth and most of their power has come from generations. And the rest of us are just peasants. They live by the rule, rules for thee, but not for me. That's their mantra. And so as long as they're in their ivory towers and they're separating us peasants here on the ground floor level, out on the killing fields, as long as we're separated by ideologies and separated by wealth, which I don't have any problems with, we're never going to really get to the root of the problems. So that's why I tell men to really detach themselves from the equation. I guess this is where, like, I partially acknowledge, not necessarily agree with, the whole MGTOW movement. Now, you have to be careful with MGTOW. For those of you who don't know what MGTOW is men going their own way. The acronym's MGTOW. I don't really agree with that. I think it's somewhat misguided. It's started with good intentions. There's a lot of men who don't know where to gravitate to because they don't understand the big picture, the grand chessboard. It's a famous book by Zbigniew Brzezinski. You guys got to look that up too. And it's basically the elites playing pawns on the chessboard, playing pawns against each other, countries against each other. But when you take it back down to the Edward Bernays level, you realize that Edward Bernays, Zbigniew Brzezinski, Sigmund Freud, they all roll in the same elite, like this really powerful intellectual group that plays everybody against each other. Just everybody wants to rule the world. That's what it comes down to. So when you look at yourself and you say to yourself, man, this is just so grand, it's so complicated, I just want to move to the country and forget about everything. And yeah, there's a lot of men doing that. And in turn, they're becoming hermits hermits. And that's, you know, it's a double-edged sword. It's a very fine line. You have to enjoy yourselves too. And this is the reason why we're seeing divorce rates in the United States up to 70%, which is astronomical. 90% of that is insinuated and started by women. You understand? So this book, The Rational Male, talks about all those facts and talks about how you as a man have to be secure in your own masculine frame. You have to go your own way, no pun intended to the men going their own way movement, but you have to go your own way, and the man has to find a path and purpose in his life. And only in doing so, then you can extend your desires and start bringing in women into your life. A big mistake that I have found myself doing in the past, and now that basically I'm a widower and trying to get back on my feet as far as, like, you know, rebuilding and restructuring my life, is that I see a lot of men who are in need, whether it's emotionally, psychologically, financially, who are also in debt, right? They go out and they just cannot be alone. Remember, if you as a man cannot find happiness in your solitude, you can never be happy with another woman by your side. You have to be happy and secure and content and proud of yourself first as the rock of Gibraltar, in order to bring another person in to share your happiness. Remember, a woman is not there to complete you. Unlike that simp scene in Jerry Maguire, where he talks about "you complete me."
I love you. You complete me.
Bruh.
And I just had...
Shut up. Just shut up. You had me at hello.
A woman is not there to complete you. A woman is only there to complement you. You as a man must be secure in your way, and only then would a woman really understand the true value. And he's got value, he's got status, he's got path and direction, and he's a leader in his own way. And that, my friends, is what women really want. Of course, status and money, but it all depends on what kind of woman you're looking at. You see what I'm saying? So to wrap it up, I think you guys, if you're listening, go out and spend a couple bucks and buy The Rational Male, whether it's hardcover, softcover, ebook, Kindle, whatever you guys read it, however you guys consume media. I like the old-fashioned book in my hands. That's just me. Maybe it's not you. But if you're a young male listening to this video and you're like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Believe me, there's the mental shift that happens when you start reading and you start articulating the words and you start to consume the psychology of it all. And you're going to realize, you're going to take a step back and say, wow, this is mind-blowing, and I never really looked at it that way. And then you start to see all the mistakes you made in the past. And in the book, he talks about that, how there are certain chapters, how it's somewhat difficult to read because you're going to come to terms of all the mistakes that you made. And you're going to say, man, I was such an idiot back then, but now I understand what he's talking about. And so you take the information in, you absorb it, you rationalize it, no pun intended, the rational male, and then you move forward with your life, and you're going to realize that your walk will be different. The way you talk to women will be different. You know, never chase a woman's validation. You always let her come to you and let her gravitate, and you bring her into your orbit, your understanding, your path and purpose, and realize that not all women are going to like you. It's just the facts of life. I'm in my 40s, extremely fit, but I'm bald, and not many women like bald men, but there are some that do. So what do? You just keep walking along with your head up and your chin straight and your shoulders back, pinned back, and become a leader in your own right. So that's what I have for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll be uploading more pretty soon, and you guys stay tuned.